All right, here we go. Okay. Hey, friendo, Steve here. Welcome to another episode of Ask WrestleJuice. You got a bunch of great questions, and a lot of stuff is going on in the world of pro wrestling right now, so let's go ahead and get these answered. First up from SJU says, do you think giving Cody a more narratively fulfilling story in winning the title was worth passing up on his WrestleMania moment? SJU says, personally, I think they made a big mistake. A lot of people feel he needed to struggle more, but he was still massively over. So this is a bunch of you asked this question. Was it a mistake? Was it a mistake for them not to go with Cody Rhodes right now? And this is a very boring answer. I'll give you what I think, what I would have wanted to have seen happen. But the boring answer is we won't know until they actually pull the trigger on a title change. There's been 3 opportunities so far to have a massive, massive moment with the title change. Drew McIntyre at Clash at the Castle, especially with that giant crowd of just like fever hot. I kind of thought at the time that they were going to do that, but they didn't. Sammy at Elimination Chamber, and of course Cody at WrestleMania. And if they're able to continue to build up challengers like the past 3, then I feel like they could theoretically last all the way until WrestleMania. Let's say Roman has 6 more major title defenses between now and WrestleMania. If you have one big one every 2 months or so, which might be likely with Roman Reigns' schedule, then I think that as long as each one gives us that belief that this person could win, but here it turns into a little bit of a Charlie Brown football situation where every time we believe and it's pulled out away from us. That, in my opinion, does make WrestleMania 40 in Philadelphia the place where if Cody gets another chance at it, he is going to win that title. Whether or not they can keep the Bloodline story fresh on a weekly basis, that's a tall task. I don't know, especially under Vince McMahon. I highly doubt that's possible at this point. However, much of the Bloodline storyline was told under Vince McMahon's supervision, and it was largely Paul Heyman and his crew and Roman Reigns that was coming up with the creative for it. So I don't know. It's a big gamble. It's a big risk. They might have missed their moment here at WrestleMania in Los Angeles with Cody. Whether or not it's a mistake, that remains to be seen because we haven't seen what the end game is, and we might not see that for another year or so. But certainly if they flop the actual, eventual title change, if that ends up being a big turd, then you're going to look back. People are going to look back at WrestleMania 39 and ask, why didn't they just do it then? This was the best opportunity for them to do it. But like I said, with their recent track record, 3 really, really good previous title bouts, building people up to think maybe they're going to be the ones. If you're firing in all cylinders, there's no reason to think that's going to stop. So it wasn't a mistake. We'll find out. It's possible. Mailer the Dealer says Cody mentioned in an interview he was portraying a heel in AEW by not giving the fans what they want, which was a proper heel turn and played into the fans' hatred, but said it may have been too subtle for fans to pick up on. What are your thoughts on subtle gimmicks? I don't know about subtle gimmicks. It's pro wrestling. You need some theatrics. But I don't know, the idea that he was actually portraying a heel in AEW by not giving the fans what they want, which was him to overtly go heel. I always appreciated Cody in AEW was trying to do something a little bit different, because I always got the feeling that he was trying to be a heel without saying he was a heel. And evidently, I didn't see this interview, but apparently that's what he was going after. Yeah, I don't know. I think that's a cool idea. I like that Cody was using AEW to sort of play with some different ideas, including not being able to go after the world title, and so trying to elevate the TNT title. But it seemed like he ran into too many barriers there to his ideas and Tony Khan. John Davies says, hey, Steve, in hindsight, do you think Triple H would have booked Mania differently if he knew Vince was going to reestablish control of creative? No, I don't, because I think that everything happened there, with the exception of LA Knight and Bobby Lashley, allegedly, apparently, reportedly, I should say, according to Fightful Select, were supposed to have a thing there at Mania, and I suspect that Vince shoved Shane McMahon in there instead. That's my own speculation. I don't think that's been confirmed or anything, but it kind of makes sense if you follow the line there. Yeah, it's a shame that LA Knight and Bobby Lashley were not present at WrestleMania in a much more substantial capacity. Of course, Lashley did the thing where he just sort of hovered with that Andre trophy. But beyond that, I don't think, and that wouldn't have changed things drastically. It just would have been a nice moment for them, and the crowd would have liked it. But no, I think that Triple H, by and large, booked that WrestleMania the way he wanted that WrestleMania booked, and it seemed to be right after that is when Vince took over. Damon Harden says, if Triple H were to leave, where would you like to see him end up if given head of creative for another company? I really don't want to see that happen. If he leaves, number one, you have to sort of take that off the board because he's not going to go anywhere else. WWE is the place for him to be. And if he were to go anywhere else, it just wouldn't be the same. Like there's nothing else for him out there. There just isn't. I have no idea. I mean, the guy could probably write a book or do other stuff in an executive capacity, but he seems to love wrestling. And so, yeah, it's not like, I mean, what is he going to go to AEW? That doesn't make any sense. Impact, it doesn't make any sense. So I don't know what he would do without WWE. I really don't. Enjoy his life, I guess. Maybe watch a bunch of wrestling. Damon Hart, I'm sorry, I already got that one. Deep Voice Dude says, how long do you expect WWE's hiring freeze to be in effect? I don't know, but seemingly there is one right now because Jay White didn't go there. And I kind of feel like that was on WWE. But he also says when it ends, what kind of free agents would Vince's WWE go after? So like apparently the new company that WWE is establishing with UFC, that Endeavor is establishing, is not set to be like properly set up for 4 to 6 months. So it's possible that there's a hiring freeze during that time. When I say possible, I don't mean likely, but it's possible because it is a big deal. It's a big merger. So I guess that's a possibility. There's going to be layoffs, and I don't know if that's going to be talent or just the office. But unfortunately, whenever there's mergers like that, layoffs happen. Zyshawn Moore says, do you feel Judgment Day is safe under Vince since he's meddling creative again? Nope. You saw Finn Balor and Rhea Ripley become completely different people, much more interesting characters once Triple H took over, and that is all at risk now. It totally is. Metalhead said, assuming Triple H takes back creative control, how hard of a task do you think he'll have of bringing the back audience trust once Vince is gone from creative again? You saw how quickly it shifted when Triple H took over at SummerSlam and how willing the people were to give him the benefit of the doubt. I think the hardcore fans, the people who keep up with this stuff, the people who keep up with the backstage stuff, who know who's in charge at any given moment, which we usually get info about that from Wrestling Observer, Sean Ross Sapp, will give him the benefit of the doubt. I think that they will trust him as long as he's there. I think the casual fan will probably just be confused if it's a constant back and forth. If Vince McMahon is there and 1 week and then he's gone the next week and it's just inconsistent creative, I think the casual fan will just be confused by that and maybe be more apt to sit episodes out. Mr. Jones is me says, which, if any of the Triple H rehires have the best chance of flourishing under a prolonged Vince-led creative? Mr. Jones is me says, for him, it's either Braun or Chelsea Green. Those are actually two names that I think are pretty solid. I think Chelsea Green, especially the character she's portraying, is something that Vince would probably appreciate, the quote unquote Karen character. And Braun, Braun is completely a WWE type guy. I always felt that once he was released, he would be back eventually, even under Vince. I thought that was going to be the case. Other rehires, I don't know. Obviously, probably not Bray. So I don't know. Remains to be seen, I guess. Johnny Burney says, if All In and All Out are taking place a week apart, what would be the main event for each of the shows? All In, I would think that maybe for All In, it would be Blood and Guts, Blackpool Combat Club versus the Elite, although that is still about, 3 months away, so that might be too far. It's 4 months away. So no, it's not going to be that. I'll be honest, I don't know. I suspect that they think they're going to have CM Punk back by then. I think CM Punk's still coming back. I think all that Instagram stuff from 2 weeks ago is probably already water under the bridge. So I'll say CM Punk versus, screw it, CM Punk versus Kenny Omega. That's going to be the stadium show. And then CM Punk versus MJF is going to be All Out. And Tyler Warden says, is there an explanation for why wrestling seems to be in a never-ending cycle of good to great to crap ass? Or is it just a consistent coincidence? It's not. It's all related to what goes on behind the scenes. When Vince is there, creative seems to suffer, but goes through cycles of, this is watchable to this is unwatchable. And that's because Vince is old. He's determined to do everything himself. And a guy who's 77 years old simply can't keep that creative momentum going. With Triple H, he's younger. He's got a fresher mind. He's probably surrounding himself with people who he trusts. And so the creative is more, it's just better on a more consistent basis. So I think that's sort of the thing. Plus, on top of that, you have things like storylines, which play out, blow off, and then you have to reload. And so there are lulls. So, Claus Techno says, looking at WWE right now, do you think Cody will jump back to AEW? No, God, no. No, from Cody's perspective, if you think about it, he lost that match against Roman, which Cody probably also appreciates because he's probably going to want to build his character back up to that point because that could be a better story. If they play out the Rocky thing, if you've seen the Rocky movies, in Philadelphia, then that could be a much bigger pop than we would have gotten at WrestleMania 39. Cody probably appreciates what he had to go to. And then he's hopping right into a thing with Brock Lesnar. If you're Cody, you got to be pretty happy with how you're being treated in WWE, whether it's Triple H or Vince. Red Dragon says, who do you think is the best part-timer versus part-timer match? Probably, if you consider Rock being a part-timer when he battled Hogan, which I don't know that he was, but it doesn't seem like he was a full-time guy back then. Honestly, the most shocking one, I hate to say this, is probably Bill Goldberg versus Brock Lesnar when Goldberg beat Lesnar in a squash, because it was so shocking. It made sense, came out of nowhere. For a crowd reaction, it's got to be that one. Let's see here. Aaron Oralaza says, just imagine, what if Vince McMahon came on TV on SmackDown just like the day of his allegations last year? What kind of reaction do you think he'll receive since he was cheered that time? I think the WWE crowd still has that Pavlovian response to Vince McMahon's music and the idea that they're there for something historic. The return of Vince McMahon to TV probably means that they would pop. However, the sentiment these days might be different because social media's relationship with the crowd. I know you're referencing something that just happened like less than a year ago, but given that the product was so bad on Monday versus what people had been given before that, I wonder if the crowd would be a bit more savvy and then give them some static. It's possible on SmackDown on Friday, we're going to get some Fire Vince chants. I really hope we do. Whether that would do anything or not, I don't know. Heather Wright says, is it possible for AEW to sell out All In at Wembley Stadium if they pull out all the stops, brought in New Japan, Ring of Honor, and local UK indie talent? Could they sell it out? Here's the thing. They've already used that card with the Forbidden Door. They've already done super shows before. Selling out is a big deal. If the idea is, can you sell 90,000? I'm kind of doubtful, but it's not to say it can't be done. If they really try to rally people around the idea, let's sell out 90,000. I suppose it's possible, but I'll believe it when I see it. I think aiming for 50,000 is probably a win for AEW. 90,000 is a big ask. But the market itself has not had AEW product there. It's probably really popular in England. And if they market it as a really special event, that's going to be either on HBO Max or just on one of the cable channels. I don't think it's going to be a pay-per-view because I got a pay-per-view the next week. So could they sell out? I don't know. I kind of doubt it, but I don't know. Weirder things have happened. Anime fan says, do you see, like some others see Triple H's speech on Raw after Mania as a goodbye speech? No, but it is weird. It was a weird speech. He's going to give another one on SmackDown tonight. I don't know what that's going to be about. It's probably going to be the same thing. We're not going anywhere. He might take some of the heat. He might say like, yeah, I'm leading the charge in creative. I get the feeling that Vince is just going to push him out there and be like, take blame for how crappy Raw was. I don't think he's going to do that, but he might do that in like a sort of an obscure way, I guess. I don't know, man. There's weird shit going on right now. Steven Dunnigan says, do you think the actual Fire Vince thread will change things? I don't think it's going to have much effect, but if it really picks up steam, like the crowd starts taking over the show with Fire Vince chats, I think it's possible that people are going to pay attention and listen. Thomas Scott says, who do you believe has the chance to be the bigger star of these two women, Tiffany Stratton or Sol Ruca? Tiffany Stratton has the sports entertainer thing down perfectly. Her character work is really, really great, and she's really coming along in the ring. Sol Ruca is very creative in the ring. She's very athletic. She's got that genuine charm to her. Right now, I'd say Tiffany Stratton, but if I see more from Sol Ruca in terms of a personality, then it could easily be her. She could be, I mean, they could both be like really next level talents there. So we'll go with these two, Wonder Kid and I'm not going to say this name because it's kind of funny. Says, do you see Triple H outright quitting and starting his own wrestling company? And then this other question from this other viewer says, should Triple H buy NWA from Billy Corgan? Oh, man. The NWA thing is kind of interesting because Triple H is such a student of history. The problem with that is WWE already owns, or I guess, yeah, WWE already owns so many of the relevant NWA tapes, like the tape library, that you can't really fully maximize what NWA is without that footage. I don't think Triple H wants to run a small promotion, a promotion that doesn't have TV, a promotion that isn't global. I think he wants to run WWE, and I think Triple H is just going to do one of two things. Either quit and wait out Vince McMahon to be let go or fired or whatever and come back, or he's just going to stick it out there, deal with Vince's shit, and wait for the opportunity for Vince to be gone again. I don't think Vince is going to stick around more. If, let's say, the scandal and all that kind of stuff doesn't affect Vince, and he just decides to ride out for as long as he wants to. He's got this employee agreement with WWE. I think it's 2 years. I don't know that he would stay on doing creative in the weeds longer than that. I could be wrong about that, but I don't know. At a certain point, I just don't see it happening. But I could totally be wrong. I don't know. Anyways, that's going to do it for the show. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. I appreciate it. Check out this video over here. Much love to the Enforcer. We'll see you guys later.